Good morning. Welcome to Summit Northwest Ministries this morning. So glad you've chosen to worship with us today. And happy Veterans Day. I know for myself, as I see all the challenges happening around the world and the pain and suffering that so many people are experiencing, I'm so thankful for the people who have created the opportunity for me to have the life that I have. And I just hope that that opportunity inspires me to go and serve other people and try to make that possible for others today. I got to be honest, the weather outside, it's kind of a little bit, a little stormy. The wind's picking up. There's a little rain out there. And I kind of feel like that's a microcosm of my life or even my week, all that kind of thing. And I know for some of you, that's your experience this week as well. And yet when we come here, it's warm. It's a place where we can be with people. And so I just hope that this morning as we worship, you experience the warmth of being together as a group of people, connecting with God. And even though there may be a storm raging outside in your life. So just invite you to join us this morning as we sing a few songs.
Open the eyes of my heart, Lord. Open the eyes of my heart. I want to see you. I want to see you. Open the eyes of my heart, Lord. Open the eyes of my heart. I want to see you. I want to see you. To see you high and lifted up. Oh, shining in the light of your glory. Pour out your power and love as we sing holy, holy, holy. Open the eyes of my heart, Lord. Open the eyes of my heart. I want to see you. I want to see you. Open the eyes of my heart, Lord. Open the eyes of my heart. I want to see you. I want to see you. To see you high and lifted up. Oh, shining in the light of your glory. Pour out your power and love as we sing holy, holy, holy. Holy, holy, holy. Holy, holy, holy. Holy, holy, holy. I want to see you.
Sing that one more time with us.
Holy, holy, holy. Holy, holy, holy. Holy, holy, holy. I want to see you. Open the eyes of my heart, Lord. Open the eyes of my heart. I want to see you. I want to see you. One more time. Open the eyes of my heart, Lord. Open the eyes of my heart. I want to see you. I want to see you.
Some people think you're distant, just some words on a page. But you're nothing more than fables handed down along the way. When I see you part the water, when no one else can pull me from the deep, that's who you are to me.
just live in cathedrals made of stone. I know you live inside my heart, know that it's your home. And I've seen you in the sunset, in the eyes of a stranger on the street. It's who you are to me. You're amazing, faithful, love's open door. When I'm empty, you fill me, hunger for more of your mercy, your goodness. Lord, you're the air that I breathe. It's who you are to me. Sometimes I have my doubts, I'm sure that everybody does.
And I
Wonder when I stumble, am I still worthy of your love? But I know I have it stronger when I'm talking to you down on my knees. You're everything I need. You're amazing, faithful, love's open door. When I'm empty, you fill me, hunger for more of your mercy, your goodness. Lord, you're the air that I breathe. To you are me. You're forever holy. You're the Lamb is worthy. My forgiveness, my healer, my Messiah, my Redeemer. You're amazing, faithful, love's open door. When I'm empty, you fill me, hunger for more of your mercy, your goodness. Lord, you're the air that I breathe. To you are, you're amazing, faithful, love's open door. When I'm empty, you fill me, hunger for more of your mercy, your goodness. Lord, you're the air that I breathe. It's who you are to me. It's who you are to me. Who you are to me.
So my wife's out of town this week. She's down in New Orleans. New Orleans? New Orleans? Jeff, help me out. New Orleans. There we go. She's down there. She sent me a couple of pictures. I'll actually share some of those with you later. So this song set that we've done actually was kind of based around her and Laura singing together, which means that I end up trying to do what my wife normally does. And for those of you who have tried to do that before, not just with music, but really pretty much with anything, it's never a good idea to try to do what my wife already does, because pretty much guaranteed it will be done better. But you know, that's the thing about being with people and being in a community. You know, being in a church. There's people that do things that I don't do and that you don't do, and that when we come together, we're so much stronger, and we're so much, and life is full and complete. And I'm thankful for our community to be a part of with that. And this afternoon, you know, we're doing some service projects. It's a chance for us to actually share that community with some other people and give them that experience as well. But in the meantime, join us in this song. Feel free to sing loud so that you hear yourself over me.
Just sit and wait for all your goodness, hope to feel your presence. I could just stay right here where I am, hope to feel you, hope to feel something again. on to who I am and never let you change me from the inside. I could be safe, I could be safe here in your arms and never leave home, never leave these walls down. And you have called me higher, you have called me deeper, and I'll go where you will lead me. You have called me higher, you have called me deeper, and I'll go where you will lead me, Lord, you lead me. I could hold on to who I am and never let you change me from the inside. I could be safe, oh, I could be safe here in your arms and never leave home, never let these walls down. And you have called me higher, you have called me deeper, and I'll go where you will lead me. You have called me higher, you have called me deeper, and I'll go where you will lead me, Lord, you'll lead me. I will be yours, I will be yours for all my life. I will be yours, so I will be yours for all my life. I will be yours, so I will be yours for all my life, so let your mercy. I will be yours, Lord, I will be yours for all my life, so let your mercy light the path before me. You have called me higher, you have called me deeper, and I'll go where you will lead me, Lord. You have called me higher, you have called me deeper, and I'll go where you will lead me, Lord. You'll lead me. So sweet to trust in Jesus, just to take him at his word, just to rest upon his promise, just to know thus saith the Lord. Jesus, Jesus, how I trust him, how I proved him o'er and o'er. Jesus, Jesus, precious Jesus, oh, for grace to trust him more. Yes, 'tis sweet to trust in Jesus, just from sin and self to cease, just from Jesus simply take life Jesus, Savior, friend, and I know that thou art with me, will be with me to the end. Jesus, Jesus, how I trust him, how I proved him o'er and o'er. Jesus, Jesus, precious Jesus, who for grace to trust him more. Jesus, Jesus, how I trust him, how I prove him more and o'er. Jesus, Jesus, precious Jesus, oh, for grace to trust him more.
Heavenly Father, I ask that you place your hand of blessing on us throughout the rest of the week like I feel right now. I ask that you help us to slow down and to remember to let you show up. I ask that you go before us, and I ask that you help us to be grateful for all that you have given us in this season. We thank you for today, and we thank you for this community, and we ask that the blessing go out into our bigger community from the community service we have today. We love you, and please be with Caleb as he speaks. Amen.
All right, welcome again to Summit Northwest this morning. How many of you got breakfast this morning? Like here, not at home, here. Okay, there's like what? I'm gonna need, you're in the middle. Are you done with you're done with your master's program, aren't you? Or are you in the middle?
I'm like halfway through.
Halfway through. Okay,
Yeah.
that's far enough through to be able to get a percentage. Let's see those hands again.
I see. I think that's like maybe like 30%.
You think 30? 30
35?
might even be
Yeah.
generous, because here's the
Yeah.
deal. There were some Dutch babies that we ate this morning,
That's
and they were
true.
ridiculous. And that's also awkward to say, but they were still delicious.
Oh, they're so good.
Yeah, Dutch babies, come to breakfast next time and you'll get some. And if you're on the live stream, sorry, make your own.
Just gotta show up next time, man.
Hey, can you
Alright.
talk about offering while I put this away?
Yeah. So now's the time for children's offering. So if there's any kids in the audience, go and run around, collect some money. We have our basket right out, and welcome everyone else, including our live stream. And then we also have our normal ways of giving. We have our lockbox in the back. You can give online.
There's ways to do it.
Yeah, there's ways to do
And
it.
if you're a
Feel
visitor here,
free.
don't worry about it, except for the kids. I mean, they're just cute. And incidentally, all that money goes to help out with Christian education in
Yeah.
our area. So those kids are picking up money for a really good thing. So we're really thankful for that. Let's see. Let's talk about, we've got the Christmas wish list. So every year at the end of the year, people are looking for different ways of giving. And so one of the things that we do as a church is we just said, hey, if you're wanting to donate to what we're doing, here are a few things that we have going on that we could really use your help. And so it's pretty straightforward this time. We're kind of looking at our 2023 budget, finishing that off, and Lake City Academy subsidy. And the summit part refers to the portion of that we give. There's several churches that give to support the school there. So yeah, if you're looking for something to do here at the end of the year, definitely keep us in mind. That's great. Last weekend, there was a blood drive out here, and the reason we're just going to talk about it is we just want to say thank you. We had 26 units of blood that were given, which that was actually that was their goal. That's what they were hoping to get when they were here. So we hit right on the goal that they were looking for. And plus, you got a free bag of Doritos out of it. So what can be better than that, right? And you can eat those Doritos guilt-free, because I think you burn like 600 calories when you give blood. So that's a little something to keep in the back of the brain
I'll
there.
take that for next time.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, why don't you tell us? No, I'm going to talk about this, and then you can talk about
Yeah.
what you're doing. The other thing we want to let you know is today we have a couple of different projects that we're doing to try to help out people in our local community. And so the first one that we're doing is actually just right here. After church, there's going to be a group out there in the kind of fellowship area, the breakfast area, and they're going to be putting some bags together of toiletries and just some different essential items that people who, unfortunately this time of year are living on the streets, there's some things that they need frequently. And so we're working with an organization called House of Charity in Spokane. and trying to provide some items for them that they can just give to people when they come and seek shelter there. And part of what we're doing with that too is, in addition to giving them some of those items, we're going to have some stationery there where you can actually just write some messages of hope and encouragement to people. And so definitely come and put your personal touch on that and help some people out. The other thing we're going to be doing is, if you don't want to sit inside and you want to get out there in the wind and potentially rain, hopefully not, there's a group that's going to be going over and cutting up firewood and delivering it to seniors who aren't able to take care of themselves in our area, or who aren't able to do that portion of what they need for the winter. And so we're going to be headed over there. I think the address is up there. It's in really small font. They don't actually have an address. It's just a big vacant lot. So this is the address across the street. So if you show up and there's a house there, don't knock on the door, turn around, and you should see a big pile of logs. And that's where we'll be out there cutting. And so after church, we're going to go out and do that. There's going to be some food at both. So yeah, definitely just a place to come, hang out, share some experiences with each other, and help some people.
Sounds pretty amazing. All right, so next up we have our young adult Friendsgiving. This is our second annual Friendsgiving, so feel free to bring a dish. We'll play some games, and we're just going to be thankful together, so just come hang out. It's on November 18th at 6 p.m., and we'll have a bunch of delicious food. I hope to see you guys there. And you can just text my number right here, 509. You can see the rest. And we also have our COYA Instagram, where you can message us on there, or you can comment on one of our posts to let us know you're coming. Thank you.
Cool. Thanks, Katie. Hey, Alec, I'm doing the switch. Are you ready? Check this out. I'm talking here. No, I'm talking here. Am I coming through? Oh, hello? Oh, that was almost seamless. We were almost there. Here, let me move this out of the way. And part of why I want to move these is we actually have a video coming up right here. We had a few weeks back, there were a number of some of the teens in our church here were wanting to basically dedicate their lives to Christ. And so we did a baptism a few weeks ago. And so we've got a video of that. We've got Corbin, Jake, and Quinn. And so we're going to watch that video and then respond to it afterwards.
As I went down in the river to pray, studying about that good old way, and who shall wear the starry crown? Good Lord, show me the way. Oh, sisters, let's go down, come on down. Oh, sisters, let's go down.
This summer, Quinn came to me and said, I want to get baptized. I was like, amazing. They said, I want to get baptized by jumping off the cliffs down at the swimming hole. And I was like, okay, I bet your Ron's okay with that. I think God's okay with that. And then I had this thought, like, you know what, Quinn, this is how you live your whole life. Like, big, exciting, and this is just going to add, bringing Jesus and your commitment to Jesus into your life is only going to add to that adventure.
These are kind of moments in time, and you don't get too many of them. And Corbin described this to me today as a once in a lifetime. And Corbin's name means a gift to God, and that's from Mark 7:11. And the Father, I'm just really thankful to be here at this stage in his life, and I'm just proud of the young man that he is. And I wish that these things lasted longer. But just take a snapshot in your mind and leave the rest to God.
So one of the flowers that I really appreciate in that garden is the sunflower, because it is turning its head towards the sun from the morning to the night. And when you get up in the morning before the sun has come up, those flowers are already pointing in anticipation of the sun. And this decision, Jacob, is like that. Like, you are choosing to face towards the sun and accept Jesus in your life. And we couldn't be more proud of you.
Oh, sinners, let's go down,
Pretty cool, huh? One of the things that we as a group now have to do is, they were baptized, but they also want to join our church, which is actually pretty nice. And so part of it, as a group, we get to vote them into membership. And if you know anything about Jake, Corbin, and Quinn, there's a lot of energy packed into those adolescent bodies. And so instead of just, raising your hand and saying "I," that type of thing, this is what I want you to do. I want you to put your fist in the air and cheer like your favorite sports franchise just scored a goal, touchdown, run, something like that, okay? So we're going to do that as our means of saying, yes, we want to welcome them into Summit Northwest Ministries. So all of you who are in favor of welcoming Jake, Corbin, and Quinn into the Summit family, let's hear it. All right, I think it passed. So awesome, yeah, it's really fun to be a part of. So I'm gonna actually pull my phone out here. I've got my to-do list here, and I'm gonna mark off song service, and I'm gonna mark off announcements. I'm gonna mark off the baptism, and now I'm gonna move on to the sermon, which I will then mark off after I go and lead the service activity this afternoon. So pretty much you're getting a full dose of me today, so I apologize. Ron is over at our sister church, Life Source, today, and so we're happy that they get the chance to hang out with him a little bit, but in the meantime, we'll still make sure things continue to happen here, business as usual. So today I want to tell you a little bit about a journey that I've been on. And this journey's been going on for the past, maybe couple of years is where it's been a specific focus for me. And actually not just me. There's a few friends that together we've been on this journey. And so I want to talk to you a little bit about it, and I want to invite you to actually be a part of that journey. But before we get too far into that, I want to talk to you about holidays. So we're kind of entering that season where holidays kind of start stacking on top of each other a little bit. We've got Thanksgiving coming up and Christmas, and I kind of just threw a few of my favorite holidays in here, and each of them are favorite for kind of their own reasons. Christmas, we've got presents, of course, are a lot of fun. The Christmas decorations are a lot of fun. We start getting snow then. For me, that's a big deal. I really like snow. The weather, all that kind of stuff creates a fun atmosphere, and there's some amazing food that goes along with Christmas, right? And so delicious food is definitely in there. If we talk about Thanksgiving, again, that weather is changing. Things are kind of getting cold and crisp. And there's some delicious food that goes along with Thanksgiving as well. I heard an amen. Let's talk about 4th of July, right? Of course, fireworks. That was a big deal in my family growing up. And of course, there's a lot of delicious food that happens with 4th of July. Memorial Day for our family is a special time. We every year we go on a surf trip to the ocean for Memorial Weekend, and it coincides with my son Reef's birthday. And my wife, ever since he was young and could understand speech, has essentially been telling him, if you don't go to the ocean on Memorial Weekend, you will die. So he's definitely in favor of that trip as well. But we have this annual surf trip, camping trip that we go on, and there's a lot of good food that happens when we're camping. Labor Day for us, camping, a lot of good food. Easter comes along, again, there's a lot of good food. And really all the holidays, there's a lot of good food, yeah. But for me, I love my job. I work out at Camp Maiven, and I have a great time out there. But at the same time, when vacation time comes, I'm ready, right? And vacation's kind of that carrot that dangles out in front of you and keeps you moving. These different holidays can kind of serve that purpose because we get to be together. We get to enjoy it together as family and friends and sit down for a meal and spend that time together. And growing up, all these holidays were a big deal, but Easter was actually a pretty big deal in our family. And again, yes, there's food, there's all the stuff you eat. There's the chocolate bunny or the chocolate oranges. Does anyone like the chocolate oranges where you smack the top and they separate out and you get to eat these wedges of oranges? Peeps fans, how many Peeps fans? You guys are sick. Peeps are awful. They're not. they're not good for you, but they're delicious, I'm sure, for you. I'm not a big Peeps fan, but there's plenty of other things to take the place of the Peeps, at Easter time. And of course, for us as Christians, there's obviously a really important message that comes with Easter, and it's a message of grace, and it's a message of redemption, and it's a message of hope for the future. But one of the things about Easter, and that is unique to Easter, is the Easter egg hunt. And growing up in my family, the Easter egg hunt was kind of a big deal. We didn't do plastic eggs when I was a kid. It was always about the real hard-boiled egg. And so we'd make a whole bunch of those hard-boiled eggs. And then when the time would come, we would sit down at the table, and we had these white, like, Corningware mugs that we'd stick out there, and we'd get from the grocery store, the egg coloring kit with the little, it looks like a little vitamin in there, and you stick it in your cup, and you dump vinegar in it. It smells awful, but you make your dye that way. And then, you go and you've got to take that egg and you've got to put it in there, and you can't be in too much of a hurry. You stick it in, you pull it out, and it's still white with maybe just a hint of blue. You've got to leave it in there. You're learning patience, all these types of lessons from that. And then, of course, you've tried to do an egg half and half and all these things. Coloring eggs was a lot of fun, but really it was just leading up to the main event, the Easter egg hunt. And so, for us, again, we were working with real, I won't say live eggs here, but real eggs here. And so, we would do the initial Easter egg hunt, and I'll talk more about that in a minute. But after the Easter egg hunt, Easter wasn't done. We would keep, my younger brother and I would keep these eggs, and for days and sometimes into weeks afterwards, we'd pull these things out of the refrigerator and go hide them in different spaces around, the house or outside. And really, Easter probably didn't happen if you didn't, maybe a month or so down the road, start smelling this sulfuric odor, and you would find an egg down in the couch or something like that. But really maximizing the whole experience of this Easter egg hunt. But even as a grown-up now, I still really enjoy the Easter egg hunt. And it's always my job to go and to hide the eggs. And we're not talking about, some people, they walk out of the house with a garbage bag of plastic eggs. They go to the middle of the lawn, they pick it up and they shake it out, and they're like, all right, it's ready, let's go. And the kids come and pick the eggs up off the lawn, and that's the Easter egg hunt. That doesn't happen in our house. So all those eggs that we were coloring, we then take and we look around the environment, and it's like, what can I match this egg to? And where can I put it to where it's going to just blend into the surroundings? Because they all have to be visible, right? You can't completely conceal it. So where can I put it where it will blend in? And where can I put it where they're looking right at it, but they still don't know? The more conspicuous it is and they still miss it, that's just a huge dopamine hit if you can just get that egg and they come out. And so as you put this together, and we do some plastic eggs too, and with our community, our group of friends, and there's this time where everything's hidden. And the adults are we ready? I think we're ready. And you kind of make sure everything's good to go. And it's time for the kids to be released. And usually there's some stages. Maybe you release the younger kids first, right? And they go out and try. And then you release that kind of mid-range age, the middle schoolers. And then you let the high schoolers out, and all breaks loose. But it's fun to watch, because one of the things, and this picture actually illustrates it perfectly, when the children are released, it's chaos, right? It's pandemonium. There's just kids running everywhere. And what you'll see is these children running top speed as absolutely fast as they can. And they have no idea where they're going. And they have no idea what they're going to find. And in fact, they're running by egg after egg that's there on the ground or hidden or things. But there's this adrenaline rush that just drives them to just run as fast as they can out and disperse around. And so part of the pleasure as an adult is to watch and see which ones they miss, and then start giving hints and see how long it takes, for them to find. And so, again, just a lot of fun, and fun to just see what they miss as this process goes forward. And I feel like a good Easter egg hunt can teach us a lot about life. There's confusion, chaos, this inability to focus, this overstimulation, this rush of running as fast as we can, but not really knowing where we're going. Passing many of the eggs by, just this idea of I've just got to get somewhere and I'll figure it out when I get there. And the thing is once you start running, you can't stop running. There's like this, society creates this wave behind you that just pushes you forward. The whole world is running with you and pushing you forward. When I was in high school, I took a summer and went over to Spain with my older brother. I did that after my sophomore year of high school. And I went with him over there, and we went to study Spanish, and we went to a place called Sagunto, it's a college that has a part of the Adventist college system, has a relationship with other universities, and so it makes it really easy to go over and to take part in these classes. And part of what happens in Spain during the summer is it's like every weekend it's just a party. Like every weekend, there's just stuff going on, and there's people up till 3 in the morning, and it's, you walk downtown, and it's the whole town is up and doing their thing. And several times throughout the summer, they'll do, in Pamplona, they've got the running of the bulls, but each individual city does their own version, essentially. And so we were near to Valencia, and so that's where we went. This is actually a picture from Valencia, and so you would go, and they would block off like several square blocks in the city, and they'd erect these large barriers around this whole area, and then they would take in Valencia they had 2 bulls, and they would take them. They would actually put fire on the horn so people could see where they were at, but they would put them and just let them loose, and then there would be thousands of people just out in the streets, and it was interesting to watch as you show up. I'd never experienced anything like this before, and you would be there. And the other thing is they would have firecrackers as well. People would buy just all these firecrackers, and they weren't just the little poppets or the little lady fingers or the different things that sometimes you can get in some of the fireworks stands around here. These were serious, legitimate firecrackers that could do some damage, and people would light them and just chuck them into the crowd. And so you'd be walking along, and there would just be these explosions, and it's dark, and you're watching for where's the light coming from the bull. And it created this environment where everybody was just like charged. It was like the adrenaline was just about to be released at any moment. And what would happen is somebody would start running, and maybe they saw something, and maybe they didn't. But they would start running, and the whole crowd would just instantly just surge and start running. And so you have just thousands of people running through the streets. And what would happen is this mass of humanity would go by. There'd be a little break, and then you'd have the bull and maybe 10 or 15 people who actually legitimately were brave. They're running around and kind of playing with the bull and doing those types of things. And I remember there was a guy from school who was on crutches that week. He had sprained his ankle, but he wanted to be a part of it, so he was down there too. And I remember we were all there, and the crowd started running, and so we started moving, kind of off towards one of the barriers. And this was one of the time where the bull actually was coming. And so this bull came running down the street, and so we start running. And again, everything's blocked off, doorways are blocked off, and so the only thing you can do is climb up on these barriers to get out of the reach of the bull. And I'm running, and then I look back, and here's this guy on his crutches going, and he's going faster and faster, and pretty soon he's going like this, and pretty soon he chucks his crutches and just runs and just climbs up the barrier. And it was the first time I'd ever seen a healing take place in my life. But the funny thing is suddenly that sprained ankle became so much less important than everything else. And in fact, this mass of humanity, this wave that was pushing him along, and this bull, there were consequences behind it, was pushing him to the point where he had to just forget about the pain, forget about the suffering, forget about whatever damage he might do, and just run. And just run for all he was worth. And I feel like sometimes, or even frequently, we find ourselves just like caught in the crowd, running for all we're worth, ignoring the pain in our lives that really needs to be dealt with, but we just run. And You know, I've always known that, you know, busyness is a problem. We've seen enough Hallmark movies or heard enough stories, told our kids enough nursery rhymes to know that, you know, having too much on your plate and just rushing all the time is a bad thing. We know that. We know the right answer to that question. But deep down, I don't know if we really believe it. See, we like to produce. We like to be able to show what we've done with our time and with our resources. We wear our busy schedule kind of like a badge of honor. And in fact, most of the conversations that happen out here are just about how busy we are. How are you? Well, I'm really busy. How about you? Oh, I'm busy too. And then we talk about what we have going on. And here's my list of things that I do. And secretly, the other person's like, mine's way bigger. And so then they go and they tell about their list. And there's kind of this back and forth until finally somebody says, man, I just don't know how you do it. And then we get that dopamine hit of, oh, yes, I'm the busiest. I'm the most tired. And there's a lot of just wisdom, wise quotes that support this type of thing. Here's a few of them. Let's see. Days spent in idleness and leisure create empty pages in the anthology of human beings and leave no indelible mark in the pages of a person's life story. Sounds good, doesn't it? An idle mind is the devil's workshop. You heard that one before? Success operates in active moments and not in idleness. Or here's this one. So it is with minds, unless you keep them busy with some definite subject that will bridle and control them, they throw themselves into disorder, hither and yon in the vague field of imagination. And there's no mad or idle fancy that they do not bring forth in the agitation. Kind of sounds noble, kind of sounds spiritual, doesn't it? Oh yes, we're like making sure our mind is focused on the right things. And in fact, if I don't keep my mind going, if I don't keep it focused the whole time, who knows where it's going to go? And there are times to hurry. There are times to be busy. We have to fight against laziness. Sure, those things are there. But is it noble and spiritual to be busy? Is it noble and spiritual to be in a hurry? And if it is, why do so many people struggle with fatigue and burnout? And why do many of us feel empty when we take time to sit still? Why do our relationships and families struggle and fall apart at times? Why do we feel a void of spirituality in our lives? It's a video clip that I was going to show you, and it was going to be too much hassle. So I gave you a picture of Nicolas Cage instead. Isn't that nice? So here, we can do another vote, actually. How many of you, how many of you prefer this Nicolas Cage to Con Air Nicolas Cage? How many of you know what Con Air Nicolas Cage looks like? He kind of looks like me, but he's balding, I think. I don't know. Long hair. Anyways, bad question. We won't worry about it. But Nicolas Cage, this is from a movie that came out recently. I haven't seen the movie yet, but it's called The Old Way. And the video clip that I have from this movie, there's a girl that it appears Nicolas is taking care of, essentially, and he wakes her up and he tells her, I heard gunshots. And her first response is, we got to go. You know, do we go? Do we run over there? Do we see what it is? Do we see what's going on? And Nicolas Cage's character says, no need to hurry. Gunshots have a way of speeding some people up, but they have a nasty habit of slowing some people down. See, fear causes us to leap before we look. It causes us to rush ahead. And whether it's fear of something that's going to do harm to us, or whether it's a fear of, I've got to get this before someone else does, or a fear of, I'm going to miss out on something great, it causes us to leap before we look. And there's risks of living that way. There's depression, there's stress, there's missed opportunities, there's sloppiness, there's not living well. And so back to that journey that I've been on. A few coworkers and friends and I have been on this process of recognizing that our lives are going faster than what we want them to. And in fact, the funny thing about camp, and summer camp specifically, we hire a bunch of of people that they're most of our summer staff are in college or in university, that type of age group. And they come and they work for us, and it's great. It's a lot of fun. There's so much to do and so many people to meet and things to be a part of. It's a blast. I did it in college and loved it. But we work, and it's not uncommon for people to put in 16 hours a day, 6 days a week, just hammering and grinding. And again, it's fun, but it's hard work, and people are tired. And what we started to realize is that what we were actually teaching people through this process is that ministry happens at all cost. And in fact, what you do is when you go and you afterwards, maybe you go and become a pastor. This was my experience of going and, back in camp, what did I do? Well, I worked 16 hours a day, 6 days a week, and I ground, and it was amazing, but I was tired, and you just go. And there's this idea that when you're in ministry, you sacrifice everything until you can't sacrifice anymore. And you last about 4 years, and then you quit. And so what we realize is we've got to actually learn how to keep our lives in order ourselves, because we've got to be modeling this to the people that we're journeying with during the summer. And a part of this, we bought this book. It's called The Ruthless Elimination of Hurry. Jeff Wines, who played the cello up here with me today. He's my boss, by the way. And so he bought like 10 or 12 of these and had them in there, just expanded our library, which is pretty small. That kind of doubled the size of our library. But brought those and said, please, come and read these. Learn how to eliminate worry from your life. And as part of this book, John Comer, John Ortberg is his mentor, and then a guy by the name of Dallas Willard was John Ortberg's mentor. And there's a story that John Ortberg tells about Dallas Willard. And Dallas passed away a number of years ago, but has written some really great books and has a lot of great ideas. But there was a guy that came to him and asked him, and this guy was a pastor and was not really satisfied with his experience. And he said, "What must I do to be the me that I want to be?" And Dallas sat there in silence for a while, as all great philosophers do. And then he came back and he said, "You must ruthlessly eliminate hurry from your life." And the guy was like, "Great, okay." And he took it and write it down. And, okay, ruthlessly eliminate hurry from my life. Okay, what's next? Again, another long pause. And Dallas said, "There's nothing else. Hurry is the great enemy of spiritual life in our day. You must ruthlessly eliminate hurry from your life." There's a quote in this book, and I'm not going to share too much for it. I definitely recommend reading it. It's a really good book. But the quote is this: "Love is incompatible with hurry." And there's in another portion of that same chapter, it says, "For many of us, the great danger is not that we will renounce our faith. It is that we will become so distracted and rushed and preoccupied that we'll settle for a mediocre version of it. We will just skim our lives instead of actually living them." And for me, as I looked at this and realized, love is incompatible with hurry, the more I thought about it, the more I realized how true that is. Many of the worst times, many of my worst self happens when I'm in a hurry. It happens when I'm trying to get people out the door in the morning. It happens when I'm trying to walk from the back of the church to the front because I've got a sermon to preach in a few minutes. And maybe if I go quickly and I don't make eye contact and I look like I'm going somewhere fast, people won't try to stop me. It happens when we don't see other people, because when we're in a hurry, we're blind to everything else going on around us. A couple of other good quotes that are mentioned in the book. Here's one. This one's actually from Corrie ten Boom. It says, "If the devil can't make you sin, he'll make you busy." And the idea is that both sin and busyness have the exact same effect. They cut you off from God, other people, and even your own soul. Carl Jung says, hurry is not the devil, it is the devil. Or hurry is not of the devil, it is the devil. Or John Comer, the author of this book, had this. It says, love, joy, and peace are at the heart of all Jesus is trying to grow in the soil of your life. And all three of these are incompatible with hurry. And as I looked to see, again, going back to Jesus and saying, okay, is this really true? I mean, we talk, it's good for us to say, don't be busy. But what about Jesus? How did he live his life? What did he do? And as I went through and as I started looking at different instances from Jesus' life, it really became apparent that Jesus didn't hurry. His life was full. He was constantly doing things. There were people around. He would get up early in the morning and go and pray. And part of that too is when we look at our schedule, the average person sleeps about 7 hours a day. The average person back then, because there was no electricity, slept 11 hours a day. So maybe he had a few more hours that he could go out and to pray. But Jesus was never in a hurry, almost never. Say we look at the story of Lazarus. Lazarus was one of Jesus' good friends. And in fact, the whole family was friends with Jesus. And at one point, a messenger comes to Jesus while he's teaching and says, your friend Lazarus is sick. And Jesus acknowledges that. And then in John 11:6, it says, when he heard that Lazarus was sick, he stayed where he was for 2 more days. Right? He didn't just quit what he was doing and run back to where he was going. And those of you who know the story, Lazarus died. Jesus actually came and raised him to life. And it's easy for us to say, well, of course he stayed 2 days, because he just knew he was going to raise him anyways. I don't know if it's quite that cut and dry. Or there was a time when a man came to Jesus. There was his daughter was sick and was dying. And so this man came to Jesus, and so Jesus started to go with him. And there was a woman that had been sick for years, and she came, and she's like, if I can just get close enough to Jesus, if I can just touch his robe, I'll be okay. And so she did. She worked her way through the crowd, which was difficult. It was hard to get close to Jesus. There's a lot of people that wanted to be there and wanted to exclude others from having that position. And so she went, and she finally got to where she was able to touch Jesus' robe, and instantly she could feel it. She was healed. And the interesting thing about the story is Jesus stops immediately, and he's like, who touched me? And everybody's like, his disciples, people around, there's all kinds of people bumping up against you, whatever. Everybody's touching you. And he says, no, I felt power go out from me. Who touched me? And finally, this woman comes forward and was like, yeah, it's me. And the interesting thing is I don't know what picture you have in your mind of Jesus when he says, who touched me? But why did he need to do that? Why did Jesus need to stop and do that? He could have easily kept going. She would have been healed. She would have gone on. She would have praised God, all that kind of stuff. It would have been great. Why did Jesus need to stop and acknowledge that someone touched his robe? And I think the reason why is because people don't just need to be healed, they need to be seen. So it's one thing to solve an illness, a sickness. It's another thing to acknowledge someone's value. It's another thing to acknowledge that that person is important enough to stop, to not continue rushing on your way, not do a drive-by healing, but instead stop and acknowledge that person and say, you are valuable. Go. You've been healed. And then, of course, Jesus went, and he healed Jairus' daughter, too. I told you my wife was in New Orleans. She sent me this picture yesterday. Jesus and the dinosaurs. And these dinosaurs, I mean, they got kind of funny eyes and kind of all kinds of things like that. Quite honestly, it's an awkward picture. But it's actually, it kind of made me start to think because, typically we see Jesus. In this particular picture, many of you have seen, either this one or something very similar. And Jesus is holding a cute, cuddly little lamb, right? And the thing is that Jesus doesn't save lambs because they're cute and cuddly. And in fact, maybe an awkward dinosaur is closer to the truth. When, Jesus comes and when he works with people and when he offers them love and grace, it's not based on them being, the cute and cuddly and popular one. It's based on them needing saving. Let's see where I got here. This picture to me gives this idea of that Jesus is here with with the misfits. It doesn't mean that we have to feel like a misfit to be saved by Jesus, but it means that Jesus is here because he loves and because he cares, not because of anything that we can provide. There's a parable it's called the parable of the sheep and the goats. And basically, it talks about when Jesus comes again. It says when the king comes again, this is kind of how he's going to sort things out. He's going to put the sheep, which are the good guys on the guys, girls, whatever, on the left, and the other ones on the other side, and he's going to divide them out this way. And these different groups, they say, well, Jesus, how did we help you? Why are we on this side? And basically, Jesus tells them, for the people, for the sheep on the one side, or the awkward dinosaur, if you will, over here, because it's not because they're cute and cuddly. He says, when you gave somebody a cup of water, when you acted in kindness to people, to the least of these, to those who didn't deserve it, you did it to me. And then the converse is true when he talks to the other side, and they're like, we did all these things for you. We preached. We did these great works in your name. But you didn't do it to the least of these, is Jesus' response. See, the way that Jesus separated out these two groups wasn't based on what they accomplished. It wasn't based on how productive they were. It was based on whether or not they noticed people. It was based on whether they recognized the value of the people around them. And this recognition of the value of people around us, that's what causes us to serve. Sometimes we say, we need to go out and do service in the community. We're Christians, that's what we need to do. And it's like this guilt thing where finally it's like enough. We're like, okay, I got to take, this time and I'm going to go do it. And it's hard because our schedules are busy and so many things that want to get in the way of us serving people. But actually, really, it's more about us experiencing love and grace in our lives. And when we do that, service is just what happens because we start to see people differently. I mentioned that Jesus doesn't hurry. That's actually not totally true. There's two instances that I found where Jesus was in a hurry. The first one, Jesus was doing some teaching and he started heading towards Jerusalem. And this was getting towards the end of his ministry. And he knew things were going to be tough. And so it's interesting. It's not super apparent, but it says they, meaning Jesus and his followers, were on their way to Jerusalem with Jesus leading the way. And the disciples were astonished, and those who followed were afraid. Why were they astonished and afraid? See, typically what would happen is when Jesus was going somewhere, he was surrounded by this group of people. And in fact, he would have disciples and people like that in front of him that were like intercepting people and making way for the king coming along. And today, Jesus was in a hurry. He was on his way somewhere. And in fact, it was so shocking that the disciples didn't know what to think about it. And Jesus actually, as you read this, in response to this, he stops hurrying to talk to the 12 and told them what was going to happen. So even when Jesus is in a hurry, he still sees the people around him and stops to talk and to help them as they, to work, to journey with them. The other place is not specifically talking about Jesus, but it's the parable of the prodigal son. And, the prodigal son is this story about a son who basically tells his dad, I want my inheritance now, I'm out of here, basically saying, I wish you were dead. He leaves, he squanders all the wealth that his father gave him. And he gets to a point where he has to choose, either I'm going to die or I'm going to go home and beg my father to let me be a servant. Right? And so he finally reaches this point where he can't go any lower. And so he heads home and he's got this speech prepared and stuff. And the thing is that when the Bible tells this story, it says the father was watching the road and he saw his son a long way off. And he ran to embrace his son. And it's interesting, that's the only place that I could find where legitimately it says God is in a hurry. The only place where God runs, the only place where God is so focused on this goal that he's just running to make it happen, is when the son comes home. I tried to find on the internet a picture of God running. Even all the pictures for this parable show God hugging the son. This is literally the only picture beside this kind of weird cartoon picture that I could find of God running. God doesn't run very often, but when he does, it's to welcome someone home. So today, if you're feeling unnoticed, if you're feeling unseen, know that you're here today to meet a God who doesn't hurry, but he does run. And when he runs, it's to welcome you home. Also know this, that you're surrounded by a lot of people who are less like sheep and probably a lot more like awkward dinosaurs. We're a little awkward. We're often not as loving and cuddly as we should be. We don't have it all together. We don't always see people and love them the way that Jesus did. And part of that is we're just trying to get home ourselves. But we want to love that way. We want to see people that way. And the more that all of us hang out with Jesus, the more we start to see the world the way that God does. And so I mentioned at the beginning, I'm on a journey to work to eliminate hurry from my life. And again, that doesn't mean that I'm not busy. I've got my list of things that I'm doing just today. All of us are busy. That's not the point. The point is I'm on a journey to try to see people the way they really are. I'm on a journey to try to see people the way that God sees them and to recognize when it's time for me to slow down or even stop. I want to be so full of God's love and grace that it flows out of me. But quite honestly, when you're on a journey, traveling with friends is much better. And I hope you'll join me in that. Let's pray. Father, we thank you for the love that you have for us. And man, we don't deserve it. We don't earn it. And yet you love us anyways. And I just ask that you help us to experience that. Some of us are just trying to, we say in our minds that's true, but it's really hard to feel that way. And today, some of us just need to feel some of that grace in our lives. And some of us have experienced that grace, and yet we're challenged to really fully experience it in our lives and to be able to spread that to the people around us. And I ask that you help us to do that. Help us to see people the way that you do and to be able to love them the way that you do. Thank you for a community that we can support each other and build each other up. And I ask that today, as we go and we try to do some things to make a difference in other people's lives, whether it's with what we're doing here as a church or on our own at home with our families, I just ask that you show us how to see people a little bit more like you. Thank you for joining us in our journey. Amen. All right, well, have a great weekend. Again, even if you were just wanting to drop in on some of those things, come talk to me. We'll figure out a way to include you in helping some people out today. But have a great afternoon. And we do have tokens up here.
to the foot of Calvary. There is redemption for every affliction here at the foot of Calvary. So come and be changed, come and be fearless, come to the foot of Calvary. 'Cause there is redemption for every affliction here at the foot of Calvary. Oh, He's our rescuer. He's our rescuer. We are free from sin forevermore. We are free indeed. Our sweetness, oh, how grace abounds. We will praise the Lord, our rescuer. We will praise the Lord, our rescuer. Our Father everlasting, the all-creating one, God Almighty, through your Holy Spirit, conceiving Christ the Son, Jesus our Savior. I believe in God our Father. I believe in Christ the Son. I believe in the Holy Spirit. Our God is three in one. I believe in the resurrection, that we will rise again. For I believe in the name of Jesus.